Polkadot is on the journey to $177. In this video, we're going to be diving down into the world of Polkadot and specifically talking about the price action of the DOT coin. As we get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe. Tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right. With that said, done out of the way, let's dive right into this daily chart and talk about what is going on with Polkadot and where we see this thing heading next. Okay, guys, so as you can see, we have a Fibonacci retracement tool on our daily here. It runs from the high of $49.82. That was achieved up on the 15th of May. We can see that we also have the low point that was a fourth wave correction. This comes in on the 20th of July at $10.37. Okay, and this whole correction that we see here allows us to kind of understand the current performance and where we could be looking to go next. When we take into consideration those two anchor points, it allows us to see that we could move up to $177 as the 4.236 extension on the Fibonacci retracement tool. So overall, we have good kind of targets associated with that. The road to $177 is paved by first passing through that 1.618 at $74.19. After that, the 2.618 at $113.64. The 3.618 comes in at $153.09. Now, these are key areas that we should anticipate finding resistance and trading occurring around them. Okay, so basically what you find is when people put their Fibonacci retracement tools on here, specifically day traders and people like that, who are professionally trading cryptocurrencies, or even those bots, right? They'll be looking at these key areas. As you approach them, you'll tend to find that they are resistance blockers and you start to see a rejection from that point. It doesn't always work out this way. Sometimes you push past and then retest it as a support level. But for the most part, you come across these areas and you kind of consolidate on them before moving up to the next level. So these are key areas that we want to be acknowledging on the road towards our target of $177. Okay, so we obviously have some pretty good expectations with Polkadot, right? And we can see that we have been really battling past our 618, 702, 786 areas on the charts as well. Again, key areas that we see trading occurring, and also where we find the big bull flags or bear flags. Here we can see that the 618, for example, which is where we're currently fighting, comes in at $34.69 approximately. We can see the 702 comes in at $38.06, and the 786 is $41.37. Now, these are the areas that we can see previously we had a lot of consolidation around. First of all, turning the 618 into a good support line down at the bottom here. The 702 was previously resistance turned into a support line. Resistance at the 786 before finally breaking through and then falling down along with Bitcoin. Now, this kind of area here of consolidation has really played a part on our consolidation and sideways trading that we've had for the last few days. Basically, we're right now fighting about trying to get into the 618 and go up to the 702. We've actually had a lot of rejection from our 702 areas, specifically on the 13th of September, 14th of September, and a third day where we also rejected on the 15th of September before pulling down into our accumulation zone. Obviously, we've seen very similar moves most recently, pushing and finding resistance at the 618 on the 7th of October and the 8th of October, pushing into the 618 and then up to the 702 on the 10th of October. Rejection from there actually brought us down to our support level of $33. And then we pushed back up into the 618, but were rejected, and we are still battling our way into the 618 again today. So right now, we're up against this battle that's going on with the 618 and 702. But these are short-term moves, something that I don't think is going to be plaguing us for too long before we actually start to see a pretty good traction to the upside overall. It's at this point that we're going to jump over to the advice.io dashboard and load up the data for Polkadot. And we're going to take a look at what this artificial intelligence and machine learning is actually talking about from the underlying data perspective. If you're not familiar with advice.io, there's a link in the description below. It's completely free to sign up, and I'm promise you guys you won't be disappointed with what you find. Now, we're going to take a look at Polkadot here. We have a B1 rating overall, so it's basically in that mid-range, so actually kind of just on the cusp of entering into the top tier. Overall, that's pretty neutral. and shouldn't be too concerning. And considering we are trading sideways right now, again, not overly concerned about that. Now, as we can come down, we actually take a look at some of those power factors, those things that the underlying data are telling us, right? But not necessarily very clear from a charting point of view. Here, machine learning and artificial intelligence has actually summarized this data up for us to help us understand exactly what is going on with Polkadot. Now, we have an 𝗕𝗓𝗓 ratio over here on the left-hand side. The 𝗕𝗓𝗓 ratio is your liquidity, so we're able to find out whether there's good liquidity or bad liquidity, basically using the advice.io dashboard. Now, for Polkadot here, we have an A2 rating for the 𝗕𝗓𝗓 ratio. This is indicating to us that there's no problems with liquidity, and actually we're looking pretty good from that kind of perspective. So again, no problems with liquidity, which is actually quite refreshing because there are so many altcoins that are seriously being affected by a liquidity-based issue. So for Polkadot right now, everything's looking pretty good. As we come across to the Polkadot side of the Fear and Greed Index, and again, this is not your just Bitcoin generic Fear and Greed Index, but we also have a Polkadot specific Fear and Greed Index, and this is actually showing us a rating of D. So basically that's indicating to us extreme fear for Polkadot right now. Okay, and that's going to basically aid in rejection from some of these key levels that we're talking about. So we have to be aware that there are some fear and greed issues for Polkadot, with extreme fear in the space on the DOT side of things. So ultimately that's an interesting metric. We're going to park that for a second as we continue and talk about a few other things in the space here. As we come down, we can see a Sharpe ratio. The Sharpe ratio is an A2 rating. Now, the Sharpe ratio represents your risk-reward ratio, okay? Right now, we're above the 50-day average in a really nice, strong way. And what we can do is we can actually take a look at this and say that actually, with a second best rating, the rewards outweigh the risks. Yet, when we actually come back to that Fear and Greed Index, it's indicating that there's extreme fear. These two things are the opposites of each other, and that's quite unusual. And it also is indicating to me personally that I might want to be buying up that fear. One, the rewards outweigh the risks. So as a long-term investor, buying up the fear that's available for Polkadot right now might be a pretty good idea, specifically on the road to $177. So right now, with a Sharpe ratio of an A2 and a Fear and Greed Index at the rating of D, the extreme fear does not match the risk-reward ratio, and therefore it's an opportunity. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, nor is Chris, so it's important that you do your own research. Signing up to advice.io and actually using this platform to your advantage might be a part of that research as well, and you might draw the same conclusions as I am. As we come down, we also have moving averages. These moving averages are also an A2, second best rating that the platform can give. So again, the 10, 50 and 100 days, no problems have been indicated with those moving averages at all. This is actually looking pretty good from the data perspective. As we continue to come down here, we can see the profitability is an A1. Again, the best rating that you can get on the advice.io dashboard. And the peak end value demand is pretty neutral at B2. Overall, there's no problems with its underlying data, with the exception of an unreasonable amount of fear. So knowing that there's an unreasonable amount of fear in the space for Polkadot right now, and knowing that all of these other metrics, the 𝗕𝗓𝗓 ratio, the Sharpe ratio, the moving averages, the ROI, are all looking in their top tip shape, then actually there's some opportunities to be had, right? But what about those entry points? Well, when we come back to the charts and we drop down into our hourly, let me actually just move that up. We can see what's been going on most recently in these last few hours. Okay, we can see that we were pushing up towards our 702 and getting rejected. And we also tried to hold the 618, got rejected from the 618. And we also lost our support of $33 briefly as well. Okay, so this area just here. So this was an interesting zone for us to basically move right back up into the 618, got rejected from the 618. And again, you can see that sentiment in the space right here, right? You can see how as the price was falling, the volumes were dropping, and as the price is moving up, the volume is dropping down this way, right? So volume grows when the price dropped, and then the volume drops as the price climbs. Okay, and that is the testament to that Fear and Greed Index. That sentiment is basically people more willing to sell than to buy right now, and this is the opportunity. So when we take a look at that stochastic and we're already in the oversold area, the next kind of move that we see happening here is a push to the upside, back into the 618, where we'll more than likely get rejected. So for me personally, I think there's an opportunity just somewhere between our areas here of the $33 and, of course, the 618 coming in at $34. Now, again, we could say that we've come down to our lower support of 31. I don't think that's something that's going to happen in the next kind of 24 to 48 hours. But I will just mark this up briefly. I'm going to just say, actually, I will take it down to that point. Just down here. So this here seems to be our opportunity. Now we can get really smart about this and actually say, okay, let's get my horizontal ray here. And we can see that this is a wick right here. So this is going to be an interesting zone. But I think more than likely this area right about here would represent a really good area to potentially buy up. So I'm just going to mark that up with a yellow line. Okay, so this yellow line here would basically be an interesting point. If we were to get rejected from our 618 and lose our support of $33 again, then actually that area of 32.61 seems like a pretty good place to be potentially thinking about any potential buys for me personally, okay, not financial advice. Otherwise, I do anticipate that holding $33 is something that we are likely to do. See it being a really good support area over here, and we've only really briefly lost it at this point before pushing back to the upside. So a good push back into the 618, a rejection from the 618, find support on the 33, maybe 32, buy up any fear that you want at this particular point here, and then basically continue that growth to the upside. Once the sentiment has resolved, again, we should be then talking about pushing past that 786. Okay, and obviously on that journey up to $177, it's not going to be too much resistance once we get past the 786 and move on up into new all-time highs, approaching our 1.618 of $74.19. Okay, so these areas on that road to $177 are going to be kind of resistant blockers for us, but something that we should be looking forward to in the next few months. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there, but hopefully you have found it useful and informative. If you have, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.